Hello everyone, I'm Bryce Steiner with West Bend News, West Bend Printing, Peace in the Valley, whatever you want to call me. Anyhow, we went on a great adventure today. Cecil and Crane Township has recently had their 200th year bicentennial celebration. And they had 3 events to commemorate this big special affair. And the first one was the play that took place several weeks ago. Last Saturday, the bicentennial celebration itself with dignitaries who came into Rochester Park. And now, today was the final event, and this was Saturday, August 23rd. And what we did was, there is a nature reserve, nature preserve, that is on the north side of the Maumee River, just about a mile north of the Bethel Church. Very fascinating place, beautiful, and it has been taken over by the Black Swamp Conservancy, and they have done a great job to turn this back into original ground. Trees, the woods, forest, plants, animals, like it would have been 200 years ago when Crane Township and essentially Paulding County was established. Crane was the first township that was named after Oliver Crane, and we also had a great dedication at the Rochester Park that talked about him and General Horatio Curtis. And he was also the one who mapped out Antwerp at the time too. His gravestone is actually in the Antwerp Cemetery. A lot of history here. His house is even still here, the oldest house in Paulding County, and it is along the Maumee River. Beautiful, beautiful area. I hope that you enjoy this short video of our tour that we got to go on to commemorate the lands of Crane Township. Please enjoy.
Yeah.
You see the roof is like...
You call my dad? No, we don't have your dad.
We are getting ready to go through the hike to take us to the virgin forest of Paulding County. We'll see what it's like. We're here at the Bethel Church and the cemetery back there. We'll see what this looks like.
So folks can hear, and I'll also try to warn you if I notice when we're coming up on the bumpy spots in the turns, so you can hang on to the seats behind you. But my name's Melanie Coulter. I'm the conservation manager with Black Swamp Conservancy, and you know, we own the nature preserve that you guys are about to get to go walk in. Oh, wait a second, it's too quiet now. And Black Swamp Nature Conservancy, we are a land trust. And what a land trust is a non-profit organization. So like all of my salary, we only have 6 people on staff, and we're all paid for by donations. So just the citizens of Northwest Ohio who want to donate to us, that's how we get paid. But then we also get a lot of grant dollars, and that's how we pay for the projects and the work that we do and the land that we buy. But just for basic land trusts are, the whole goal of a land trust is just to protect land, to keep land from being developed, right? So we protect farms to keep them as farms for forever. We protect forests to keep them as forests for forever. There's so many land trusts across the United States that do that work all over. We're really good. It's a really important piece of land protection in this country, because you hear about the Forest Service all the time, right? And Bureau of Land Management and state and county parks. But land trusts are able to protect privately owned land. So we do, we don't have a lot of public ground in Ohio. We have a lot of privately owned land. And so land trusts are a good tool for protecting that land. And then for Black Swamp Conservancy particularly, we protect about 23,000 acres of land in 12 counties in Northwest Ohio. Crane Township are really instrumental to Black Swamp Conservancy's history as a land trust, because here in Crane Township was the first land that we ever bought. First land that we ever bought to own and manage ourselves as a nature preserve, and that's where you guys are going to get to go for a walk today. And the reason that we bought and protected this land in particular is because it is a remnant of the historic Great Black Swamp. Have you guys heard about the Great Black Swamp? You know what that is from school and everything else. And you're going to learn more about that on the walk, so I'm not going to talk a lot about that other than just that's why this was the first piece of ground that Black Swamp Conservancy was like, you know what, usually we just protect private lands, but this we actually need to be the partner that will buy this and protect this really important remnant of the Black Swamp. But then, after buying it to protect it, we have about 200 acres of woods in there that you guys are going to walk into. But after that, after getting those in 2003, 2004, 2005, that's when we bought it, we started to think about the fact that, you know, the Black Swamp, the Great Black Swamp used to stretch from Lake Erie all the way to Fort Wayne. It was 1 million acres. And so we have 200 acres here. That's a lot less than 1 million. And there's only about 1% of wetlands left in Northwest Ohio, what used to be here. And so as a land trust, we started to think, you know, protecting the best of what's left, which is what we did here, you know, that's not really enough anymore for what the people of Northwest Ohio need. We actually need to start putting some wetlands back on the ground where they used to be. And so that's what we started doing. We started buying these fields. This field that you're seeing on my left is one of them that we bought and started to do restorations. You can see all the little baby trees growing in here. So this field we restored, we're restoring the forest in the process. It'll take, you know, 50 years for all those trees to grow up and become something that looks a little bit more like what you guys are going to walk through. And then on the other side on my right side, we're not seeing it yet, but after we get past these couple houses, it's another field that we did a restoration on. And that it's looking really nice. That's a little bit older of a restoration. And on this side, you can see all these yellow flowers coming in. Those are American senna. So on this side, what we restored some agricultural drainage ditches into more natural streams. So we're still able to take all the runoff from the farms that are on the other side of the field, and we put that the farm tile water, the runoff from the farm, through this natural stream, and it gets a little bit filtered, and then it goes down through the woods that you guys are going to walk through and into Marie Alarm Creek down there. This is the field I'm talking about here. And we also, this used to be farm, and so we also broke the drainage tile in here, so that allowed water to sit on the land and create wetlands where it used to be wetlands, right? This used to be the Great Black Swamp. So this was all wetland, and we've put some of it back here as wetlands. Again, in 50 years, this is going to look more like where you guys are going to walk in a little bit.
What are the little purple flowers that are in there?
The purple flowers are ironweed.
Oh.
Yep, so that's mostly what's blooming right now is American senna and ironweed. The purple, the yellow is the American senna. There's also a lot of native grasses in there, a lot of native sedges, and of course the trees. We planted a bunch of trees in here as well. And when we first started doing this, the reason we did this is because we have that 200 acres of remnant black swamp, and we wanted to create like a protective buffer around it. So that's why we started buying and restoring the fields around it to protect it with the buffer, but also to expand it, because when you have wildlife habitat, the bigger the better. Like the more resilient it's going to be. If you have a 435 acre patch of habitat, which is how big Forrest Woods Nature Preserve is now, started out 200, you're going to be able to weather storms. Okay, hang on everybody, this is the bumpy spot. we're going across the creek that we're talking about now. So you guys will be hiking in this road here. But so yeah, we wanted to create a buffer, make a larger patch of habitat, just because it's more resilient to all sorts of threats. And that's basically, so we've gone through the restoration zone. Now we're driving by the woods just to get us over to the trailhead that you guys can walk in. My coworkers, Scarlett and Renee, are going to take you on a walk into the woods, and so they'll have a lot more to tell you about what's cool about these really old woods that you're going to get to see. Do you guys have any questions about anything as we continue the drive?
What kind of trees are you planting?
What kind of trees are we planting? So we're planting things like hickory. We have a few different species of hickory, shagbark and shellbark and pignut. We plant oaks. We plant swamp white oak. We plant regular white oak, red oak sometimes.
Locusts?
We don't plant locusts. I actually have planted locusts before, but not here on a restoration in Lucas County.
They do a pretty good job of planting themselves, but...
They plant themselves. Yeah, they plant themselves. And so do cottonwoods.
Cottonwood, yeah, I saw cottonwood.
Sycamores, and so do silver maple. So a lot of times, so the restoration work that we get grant money and we hire consulting firms, and they help us make the restoration plans, and they bring out all the heavy equipment to dig the wetlands and stuff like that. But a lot of times they always give me a tree planting list that always has sycamore, silver maple, because those are easy to get and cheap, and I always say, nope, I don't want to pay money. I don't want to pay grant money to plant those things that are going to plant themselves. So.
Yeah. Walnut?
We do walnut, we do black walnut for sure, we do black cherry. So we do overstory trees like the hickories, oaks, sugar maple, but then we also do understory shrubs because those are going to have all the berries and some of the nuts that the wildlife needs. So we do elderberry and buttonbush, and I already said black cherry.
How about pawpaw?
I have planted pawpaw before, yeah. You have to be you have to pay attention with planting pawpaw, because usually when we're doing a tree planting, especially if the contractor's doing it instead of volunteers or something, it's just a mix and they just kind of plant everything in a random. But if you're planting pawpaws, you have to plant a patch of pawpaws. You have to plant at least 10 right next to each other. So, but yeah, we do plant them.
Do you have any Kentucky coffee tree?
Yeah, we do have Kentucky coffee tree.
I almost thought I saw one when we were driving over here.
Yeah, no, it is one of the species in the woods, just naturally in the woods, and so we do use it in our plantings. Yeah.
Okay. I actually get that in the black walnut mixed up sometimes.
Yeah, I do too. I am really not the best at tree ID, that's for sure. More of a planner than a naturalist, but. So yeah, we're just continuing to drive along the woods. Like, obviously some of this is privately owned, but then back behind these houses is the nature preserve. And I think we already passed where we could see it, but there was a tornado that came through, and there's certain spots through here that are where the trees came down in I can't remember if it was 2015 or 2016. But so that's kind of interesting because that changed what trees were growing, because the trees were knocked over, and that brought a lot more light to the forest floor, and so that kind of changed the plant community in those spots. So that's kind of cool.
Do you have any issues with disease? Is that a ash? That's a standing ash?
Yeah. So the ash, emerald ash borer did come through here for sure.
You probably don't have any of those left.
Nope.
That are living.
Nope, we don't. Although, yeah. This wasn't so heavy ash. Like, we have some other, some preserved, but also some private lands that we protect with conservation easements where they've lost like 50% of their mature trees because they had so much ash.
Okay.
So we didn't have that much ash in here.
And have you made any efforts to replant any of that, or is the ash just gone?
We do plant it sometimes, but not a lot.
Hi guys, for everyone joining us, I'm gonna have you head in towards Scarlet just so we can get some space for the people leaving and get us off of the road.
Yeah.
See what they mean about that stubble.
So,
Hello.
Does poison ivy grow in here?
poison ivy does grow in here.
Very,
I'm sure.
very well.
Yeah, we will see some along the trail, so I would keep an extra eye out.
Yeah. No, I'm just
No
getting
open-toed
over
shoes.
a bout with it.
Exactly. Yep, for sure.
You don't mind if I record, do you?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Please, yeah.
And who are you with?
I'm Bryce Steiner with West Bend Printing, West Bend News.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love the West Bend News. I am so thankful for that paper.
Well, thank you. Well, maybe you can watch this on the YouTube channel then.
There
So.
you go. Sweet.
You want me to introduce?
Sure, please, go for it.
Well, hi everybody. Welcome to Forrest Woods. My name is Renee. I am the Communications and Outreach Manager for Black Swamp, which is a fancy way of saying that I do the marketing, which you might be wondering, why am I here of all people? I have a background in naturalism, so I went to college at BGSU for outdoor education and interpretation. So by trade, I'm a naturalist, so this is my happy spot. I like being outside with you all and telling you about the cool plants, nature, and fauna that we have. Kind of read the land for you all. So that's why I'm here with you. We'll be hiking with our land steward.
Hi, I'm Scarlett. Nice to meet everybody.
Yeah, so we'll be hiking with Scarlett. I'm gonna hand it over to her in just a minute to give you a little bit more detail about Forrest Woods and the Black Swamp. But just some words of advice when we were walking. This is a rustic trail, so I do see some sandals, some Crocs. The only thing I want you to be mindful of is that there are logs, there are some rocks, so just be careful. Don't stub your toes. Just watch for your step. Don't keep your eyes glued to your feet though, because we are in a magical place. So it's really cool back here. So you do want to be looking around at what we have around us. We saw a raccoon, like a really big raccoon, take off running. It was just pretty cool. I know you're like, it's a coon, but like, I don't know, they're still pretty cool. It's pretty big. But just be mindful of where you're stepping. The other thing too is I see some exposed ankles, and even if exposed ankles, we do have some poison ivy around the trail. So just be mindful of that. When you get home, wash your legs, wash your pants. Poison ivy is just part of, unfortunately, being out in the outdoors. Okay? Anyone need bug spray? Feeling good? Okay. If you do, Scarlett has some, I have some. The mosquitoes truly have not been too bad. There's been some flies flying around, but not so much that I'm just like, I need bug spray. You know what I mean? So we'll be pretty okay. But if you do want some, let us know. Otherwise, I'm going to hand it over to Scarlett. Scarlett will lead us in. We'll walk in about a quarter mile, and then we'll walk back out. It's unfortunately not a loop, so it's a back in and back out situation. Sound good? Awesome.
Awesome. Thank you, Renee. Yeah, so I'll just give a super brief history about here, Forrest Woods. As probably Mel explained on your ride up here, this is Forrest Woods Nature Preserve. This section that we're walking in is 80 acres. It's our first kind of main section that we bought in 2003. This kind of came on our radar first when a bunch of state naturalists actually came out. They were looking for heron nests. So if you guys know what great blue herons are, they're really big birds. They sound like dinosaurs. I think they're cool. So there is a heron. What's that? Oh yeah, that guy. So yeah, there is a heron rookery within these 80 acres. That just means that there's lots of nests. They like to nest together, so there's lots of nests. We won't, unfortunately, see it on the trail today. But then, while they were out here surveying for herons, they found over 40 endangered and threatened species here. So that's a lot of endangered plant species, and then also some wildlife species. So we have some pretty cool salamander species out here, some cool endangered frogs, endangered turtles. So we can talk more about that as we walk through here. And then, you know, the state has some restrictions on land that they buy. And for us, for Black Swamp, we really specialize in those land transactions. So we were able to buy this. And then as Mel had explained on your way up there, we've kind of just been expanding as we go. So one thing to keep in mind as we walk in through here is this is really like our example for what we want our restorations to become. So, you know, hopefully in 50 years, we can walk through those fields that we restored, and this is what it's going to look like. So yeah, we'll kind of walk through. I'll try and point out some fun plant species. If we see any wildlife, I'll try to point it out. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Unfortunately, it's not a great time for things to be blooming. I definitely recommend our spring wildflower walk in spring. But we'll see. I'm sure there'll be all sorts of stuff to see. So yeah, just watch your step and we'll kind of walk through here. Kind of the two dominant tree species that we find here in Black Swamp, especially in this upland areas where it's a lot less wet, is we find a lot of elm and a lot of ash. So if you remember years ago, our mature ash kind of got wiped out by our emerald ash borer. Luckily, we've been seeing some small ash saplings coming up. So we're hoping that these will grow up and kind of stay mature and have that defense mechanism against the emerald ash borers. But it's kind of a waiting game right now. But it's exciting to see it coming up again. This guy.
Oh, how pretty.
Yeah, this guy's one of our ones that fortunately blooms now. This is called a monkey flower. Really pretty, really purple. And it's nice. Yeah, to see.
Was this a field too, not too long ago, or?
So it wasn't. It was actually, it's been woods. This is one of the sections that was never clear cut. Totally. The majority of it was clear cut.
So some of it has been logged.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
So we may not see giant trees.
Exactly. Yeah. Most of what we're seeing walking down this trail, the trees are going to be about 50 years old.
Okay.
Yep.
Are there any still in existence that
there are?
you could call original?
Yeah. Yep. And we won't see them on the trail, but if we kept going south, you could see some really massive trees.
Well, I brought my tape measure just in case.
Did you? Okay.
Sound like you'll get to use it.
I see this fence row over here. Is that part of the property too?
Yeah, so actually we're on the very eastern boundary of our property. So this, unfortunately, is not owned by us.
Okay.
So anything this way, this is all us.
Okay.
Here's a cool kind of understory plant. This is spice bush. This is one that smells really good when you crunch up the leaves, and you can give it a smell.
What's it called?
Spice bush. Do you want to smell it? You can take that. Yeah, if you guys want to take a leaf and smell it, it smells pretty good. It is one of our native butterfly species, so it is a cultivar that we do recommend planting in your yard if you want to encourage some more native insect growth. One, it's really beautiful in the fall. It tends to be beautiful golden color with red berries, so it's very interesting color-wise. It smells great. Even in the spring when it's flowering, it smells really good. And then it is also host to a beautiful spice bush swallowtail, which is a native butterfly that is absolutely gorgeous. It's black with blue iridescent on its wings. So, recommend native. Yeah, recommend native plant to have in your yard. Fungi. I'm not good on fungi ID, but
Let's just say I saw some back there.
yeah, some pretty red ones.
How pretty!
Yeah, very pretty.
And look, there's poison ivy.
Yeah, I've seen a bit of that.
Right there.
This guy is a state-listed plant species. This is called a sensitive fern. It's a type of fern, not typical. The other fern that we have here is called an ostrich fern. That's kind of the one that rolls up. This one does not do that, but it's still a pretty cool species. It's looking a little rough because it's not super wet up here and he doesn't like it, but maybe after a rain he'll come back up. Here's a little garter snake. Let's see if I can catch him.
Oh, poor little guy. He's tiny.
I'm sorry, dude. Just want to show everybody.
How do you hang on to it, for crying out loud?
I don't know.
You say, I'm not sure how you found it. Saw it.
Oh.
Yeah, there's your little garter snake. This is a super common snake that we see here.
Oh, he's camera shy, isn't he?
He is.
Showing
all the kiddos.
Yeah, the kids are like that.
Worried about stepping in poison.
I know. I think I'm fanning him somewhere now.
What's that? What you got? A garter snake. The little guy.
I said he's a baby. The ones with the like the bark falling off, that's the shagbark hickory.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Well, let's see. See, you got that big one right there or that one over there. That's definitely that.
Did you point it out? This guy, right?
Yeah, the one you're standing on. No, she was standing on it previously.
That one's a sensitive fern, that's what it's called.
And why is it called that?
Because it keeps getting walked on.
Oh, that's a good question.
Now, do you ever see jewelweed?
I do see some jewelweed. Yep.
Because I'm not sure exactly what it looks like.
Yeah.
I've seen it, but I can never continue to remember it.
Sure, yeah, if I see it, I'll point it out.
What other snakes do you see in here?
That's a good question. We have one endangered snake that we have here is the copper belly water snake. Have you heard of that one?
I have not heard of that one. Is he poisonous?
He's not poisonous, nope. He's got a black back and a really bright orange belly. So he's I think he's endangered, classified as endangered.
Okay.
So that one I haven't seen personally with my own eyes, but I know they're here. A lot of them are just the garter snakes, so really just the ones that I see here.
Do we see black snakes at all here? The king snakes, or?
I haven't. But that definitely doesn't mean they're not. Oh, tiny bird right there.
At our place, we've seen them climb trees.
Okay.
And be above us.
Oh my gosh.
And they will fall on you sometimes. But they will also eat the copperheads.
Okay.
And rattlesnakes.
Huh.
That we also have. So, not this far north in our place in Kentucky.
Sure, okay.
Yeah, you're like, wait a minute, we have those up here? No, not yet.
Not yet, yeah.
Now, can people come through here anytime, or is it only during special tours?
So it's only during special tours.
Okay.
Yeah. We always have a spring wildflower walk in spring. And then this is pretty new for us. You know, this is kind of a one-time special thing. So yeah, really the only time is that spring wildflower walk, which we always get a really big group for. We have all tons. I mean, there's trillium that's like basically covers the floor.
What would be an interesting one is maybe do one in the winter, a tree identification without leaves.
Sure, yeah. Totally.
Because I would need help.
Bark ID is interesting.
Oh.
Yeah. What are you doing up north?
Well, actually, we live here.
Okay.
We run the newspaper and the printing up here.
Oh, nice.
But then about 4 years ago, we Found some place on the Kentucky-Tennessee line
So,
near there, and bought a couple of mountains. So we've got bears and deer and lots of snakes.
okay.
Lots of snakes. We had a lot of beavers, but I think I finally got rid of them.
Yeah.
So they kept flooding the area.
Okay.
They
Gorgeous down there.
create lots of havoc. They kill so many trees, it's not even funny.
Okay. Wow.
I mean, it's one thing for them to, make a habitat, but they will destroy forests.
Interesting.
And they will, completely change the entire environment.
Okay.
So they can do good, but they can also harm.
Sure. Yeah, it's interesting because we kind of encourage beavers here, but
Oh yeah. I think it's probably a good thing in a lot of places.
okay.
But then they do a lot.
Right.
And not all of it's good because it'll harm the other animals that are already there.
Sure.
If they get out of control. Now, do you go through and identify all these different trees?
Yeah, yep. We have a big species list, so if you see anything new, or anything out, we'll mark it down. I see a lot of silver maple here. And,
Like, what kind of tree is these right here? They're all are those hickory or?
these are ash.
Those are ash. Okay.
So the best way to tell, have you ever heard of the acronym MAD buck? So that's like your opposite leaf pattern. So when the leaves grow opposite to each other, it can either be a maple, an ash, a dogwood, or a buckeye. So if you know those, like 4 species, and know how to tell whether the leaf is growing opposite, that's a pretty good way to know what type of tree it is.
Now, walnuts don't do that? Where they,
Walnuts?
or
So-
maybe I'm not understanding, but
Yeah,
aren't
walnuts are interesting because, so one thing that makes it grow opposite, so essentially for this tree, this is a leaf.
Yeah.
they? Yeah, and those
then
are leaflets.
These are leaflets. So how they're growing opposite on the stem.
Mm-hmm.
So walnuts, the leaflets look similar, the
Okay.
leaves look similar, but they're going to be alternate on the stem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was just
This is good.
kind of going over some quick tree ID. This is your ash. One thing that's really helpful for tree ID is remembering the acronym MAD buck. So trees that grow with opposite leaves. So I'm trying to find a good example for you guys. And leaves are tricky too because there's something called a leaflet and then a leaf itself. But for the sake of this conversation, these leaves are growing opposite to each other on the main stem. So that could only be 4 tree species, which is maple, ash, dogwood, or buckeye. So if you remember that acronym and you know how to tell when leaves are growing opposite to each other, then you already know, for the most part, 4 pretty common species in Northwest Ohio. So that's a good thing to remember for tree ID. Very cool. We do have pawpaws through here.
I'd love to see it, because isn't it time for harvest
Yeah.
pawpaw?
I grabbed some earlier this week, but they weren't ripe yet.
All right.
If you leave them on the counter, they should ripen up pretty good, but hopefully we might see some along the trail. But
Is there a pond back here?
there isn't a pond. Actually, I'll show you up here. This is kind of our remnant wetland situation.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you guys are welcome to walk up this way a little bit. We're gonna take a peek at kind of this same field, and I'll explain what it is a little bit.
What's more picture down there for?
Yeah, so if you look down here, there's a metal fencing. At either end of the fence, there's 2 buckets. So this is actually one way that we survey reptiles and amphibians here within the nature preserve. So our goal is to catch, you know, salamanders or snakes that want to go either down the slope or across, but they get stuck by that metal fencing. And so they go through the buckets on either side, and then in the bucket there's a camera that takes the picture or whatever goes through the bucket. So yeah, it's a cool way to kind of get an idea of what our species are out here. So this summer we got, I don't know, a couple baby snapping turtles, lots of different snakes, some frogs. Hopefully in the fall we'll try to get some more stuff. But yeah, that's pretty cool. So yeah, so Paulding County is the flattest county in Ohio. So this makes this, you know, topography, this slope really kind of unique about this area. So essentially what created it is kind of time in our natural river systems. So at one point the Maumee flowed through this kind of bend right here. So what happens over time is your stream banks of your river get eroded, and they kind of make this big curve on the river. And then at some point, the river just cuts straight through that big curve. So what you're left with is kind of this big bowl situation, and that's what we call an oxbow wetland. So in the spring, this is super full of water. It's constantly wet. And one species that loves this sort of habitat is salamanders. So we find all sorts of salamanders out here in early spring. Frogs love it. We have sea turtles out here.
What happens to them after the water is
not
not there anymore?
Exactly. Yeah. So the life cycle of salamanders is they need the water to lay their eggs. Then once they lay their eggs, they can bury into the dirt and kind of stay there. So that's where they are right now during the summer months, is they're under the ground. Oh. It's cooler, it's wetter in there. So.
Yeah. And on that note, like right now, it seems like the soil is really dry, but that's just the surface level. So you go in just a few inches, and we're getting into some really wet soil. That's pretty unique to this area, being a wetland. And one way you can tell that too is by looking at the actual trees. So if you look into the trees in into our bowl, there's one right here. It's not a great example because it's a younger tree. But if you look up, you see how it's thinner at the top, and then the more you go down, it starts to thicken out. There's another tree over there that's an older tree that does the same thing. And one behind you, actually, where it widens out really like a skirt. You guys see what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Does anyone know what that is or why trees do that? No? All right. I'm happy to tell you.
Briscoe.
It's an adaptation for living in wet soils and wet environments. It's called buttressing. And you can see it a lot in actually developed neighborhoods too, of areas that used to be black swamp. So I live in northern Toledo, and all of my native trees in the area have huge buttresses because I used to live in a swamp. The area where I live used to be a swamp, similar to what we have right here. So we see that in our native trees in wet areas where the soil is really wet pretty year round, and that's to help for stabilization, water retention, to prevent rot, to capitalize on those resources. We think of trees as unevolved, but they're pretty evolved species to adapt and survive in different environments. So that is something you'll see in trees that live in wet areas, and that indicates to you that it is pretty wet year round.
Awesome. Any questions about this or anything so far? All right, we'll keep walking here.
Can I say one more thing?
Absolutely.
Sorry to interrupt again, guys. Do we have any like mushroom fans in general? I just think they're cool, like looking at them.
Yeah.
If you look, and you look behind you, there's actually some mushrooms there. There's some mushrooms right in front of our little friend right here. There's some mushrooms on this tree, and we go down and there'll be even more mushrooms. These are ringless honey mushrooms. And honey mushrooms can be some of the largest mushroom systems in the world. So, honey mushrooms, in particular, this mushroom cluster over here, this mushroom cluster right here, the mushroom cluster behind you is probably all of the same fungi. The way that it works is that mushrooms have mycorrhizal networks underground. We call them mycelium. And what we're seeing above ground is actually just the fruiting body of the mushroom. So the actual mushroom itself, so when you think of it, you're like fungi. The mycelium is the actual, what we think of mushrooms. This is just the fruit. This is how they grow and they spread. But there are mushrooms that have come out. So if you think about, you have a group of mushroom over here and a group of mushroom over here. If you were to take that entire network underground and lift it up, there have been honey mushrooms the size of multiple football fields. There have been honey mushrooms that weigh multiple tons, the size of a blue whale, that come underground. We have a whole world under here. So this mushroom is the same, this mushroom is the same, and they're probably all one fungal network on our feet. Isn't that crazy? That something the size of a blue whale can be under our feet.
Are those edible?
These ones, no. There are some honey mushrooms that are, but honey mushrooms are really tricky to ID. So if you're interested in getting into edible mushrooms of this area, please do it with a mushroom expert. I'm not a mushroom expert. Some honey mushrooms are, these ones specifically are not. But they're hard to distinguish between the two, so you can make yourself sick.
So you're saying that these up here and those back there are all part of the same mushroom that's underneath?
Under the same mycelium, yep.
Oh, that's cool.
And there's some more up here that are probably the same network.
And how do you determine that? I mean, how do you know? Do you put probes in the ground, or?
So there's a different couple ways that researchers can do. They do gene sequencing.
Oh yeah,
To see if it's the same kind of mushroom. Because mushrooms are unique, where they're not a plant and they're not an animal. They belong in their own kingdom. So they carry their own gene, they carry their own DNA sequence. So there's there's many different ways that mushrooms can be ID'd to be part of the same fruiting body. Alright, I will leave you guys, let Scarlett lead again. We're getting to a soft part of the trail, so hang out to the right side where it's more firm, okay?
look at your feet, but that's pretty hard not to do. You're not lost, are you?
No, I promise. Yeah, so if we were to keep going, we would run into the Marie d'Alarme Creek. So we protected just over, I think we're at 4 miles of that creek so far. And then that runs right into the Maumee River. So when we think about water quality and things like that and limiting kind of pollution sources into the Maumee, that's kind of our main big reason for protecting the Marie d'Alarme. Renee, is there anything else you want to add? Or I think maybe we can turn back and start heading the other direction.
What was the last thing you just said?
Oh, I said we protect the Marie d'Alarme, 4 miles of it.
Yeah, right. So as Charlotte said, a lot of what we do is poor water quality at this point in our new projects. But with this project too, with the Forrest Woods, part of the reason why we are protecting it is one of the original reasons why we protected it. As we said, there are over 40 endangered species back here, is to protect our wildlife and flora. So we call it flora and fauna, so our plants and wildlife species. And a lot of the restoration work we're doing right now is to build what we call wildlife corridors. So our native species have a chance to thrive in their natural environments and reduce human and wildlife conflicts. We have a lot of native species that are really important to Ohio and our environment as a general. And our goal is to create a safe spot for them to thrive. So when you go past the restoration fields, as Charlotte said, in 50, 100 years, we really hope we'll start seeing what we are seeing right now. I said to some people earlier, I think Charlotte may have said it, just to reiterate, this is an old logging field, so these trees that we're immediately next to are only about 50 years old. But as you go deeper into the woods, you start getting into the 200-year-old trees, the Dicker sensor canopy, and more diverse habitat. And so our goal is, once we're gone, that some of our restoration fields that we're working on right now will be able to host habitat like this. It's really special. There are unique features into this habitat that put us on the same spectrum as the Florida Everglades, the Amazon rainforest. You don't think about having wild spaces or unique habitats around Northwest Ohio. We first think of flat farm fields, but we have a lot of unique habitat that puts us on par with some of the spaces in the world that you think of wild. You don't have to go thousands of miles to see those spaces. They're right here. They're right in Northwest Ohio. So yeah, that's what I got for you guys.
Do you ever have tours to the ancient trees?
So some of our older trees, you'll see, as a little plug for our native wildflower walk. So our native wildflower walk occurs in May. You'll start seeing registration for it happen in about April, about a month before. And where we were at that bowl, we'll actually curve around that bowl, go into it, look for some salamanders, so we might see some of the endangered ones. And then go to Marie d'Alarme Creek, where we'll see some of those older trees. You might even see a pawpaw. We do have a pawpaw grove back here. I don't know where it is specifically. It's a secret to Scarlett and I for for some reason. But we do have our native fruits back here. So if you are interested in it, we don't typically open this preserve to the public because it is such a fragile ecosystem and one of the few remaining, except for our occasional walks that we do. And yearly we do that spring wildflower walk, and it's a completely different environment. You feel like you're in a completely different world from where you are right now. It changes season to season. So if you are interested in seeing some of those older growth trees and seeing what it's like in the spring, I would recommend coming to our May wildflower walks.
What types of wildlife have you seen in here?
Yeah, all
sorts.
sorts. Yeah. So salamanders. So we have several species of salamanders. We have our blue-spotted, four-toed. Several types of frogs. I mean, pretty much every frog native to Ohio. Wood frog, green frog, leopard frog.
Gray tree frogs.
Tree frogs, yeah.
Toads, I mean, all of them.
Yeah.
We'll have back here. We have a few different species of turtle. We have some endangered ones. Mink we have back here, so that's the native weasel. We have raccoons, deers, there's probably foxes, there may be even a badger or two.
Wild turkeys.
Wild turkeys for sure. All kinds of bird species, especially in the early spring when we have the big bird migration. We had someone mention back that too about how McGee Marsh is like the birding hotspot, but they stop here first. So we get a lot of those bird species too. And then, yeah, just all kinds. They're even along the creeks. We haven't seen them, but there might be the river otter, a stray river otter family or two. Just because we haven't seen them doesn't mean that they're not here. We do have traces of them. We just, personally, Starla and I haven't seen them ourselves. Unfortunately, I would die with joy if I saw a river otter here. I'd be like, but yeah, so we have all kinds of wildlife through here.
So how deep does wherever this stream or whatever, how deep does the water get?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say, like in spring, I would think at least 5 feet.
Oh,
Yeah. I mean, it's not a super wide creek. Right now, I think if we walked back to it, it would be nearly dry. But yeah, so it's nice. It carries a lot of water into the Maumee, so it's nice that we get to protect it. Yeah.
How often do you employees get out here to just check on things?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, so I'm the land steward, so I do a lot of the management on the preserves. I'm only out here in these woods, if I'm lucky, twice a year.
Okay.
So yeah, it's, in terms of invasive species, the one thing that we want to do is limit disturbance to these woods. So for that reason, I typically stay out of it. And yeah, so that's why, it looks so good. We don't have, our typical honeysuckle or autumn olive that we see in a lot of other disturbed woods.
Right. So how do you control, or who controls those invasive species?
Yep, yeah, we do that. We hire a seasonal crew to help us in the summer. We do use chemical treatments on a lot of our invasive species, especially some of these restorations that are former farm fields. When we take it out of production and put native seed in it, we see this really big influx of invasives. So things like teasel and mare's tail, Candida thistle, things like that. So typically it's a lot of, chemical treatment. We do come through and collect and bag seeds to try and keep that seed population down, but it is, a constant battle for these to maintain our native diversity rather than our invasives.
We are happy to continue answering questions on the
Oh
way,
yeah, are we running out of
We're getting
time?
to the point when we
Okay.
head back.
Okay.
Well, hey, Brad, look at you. You brought your walking stick.
I say, where's your walking sticks?
I like these little seeds. Hey, you have a caterpillar in it.
All of the fields around that we've been restoring. The original first purchase was 80 acres,
Okay.
and then 40 acres the next year, and then 70 acres the next year, and that's almost 200, and that's what's the core woods. Although not even all of that, like I think maybe like 30 acres of that wasn't woods. It was just in the same parcel. This is our most recent tract we bought, and before we bought this, it didn't all touch each other because we have. Close hitting a little bit when we get up here a little bit. We own a piece that's right along the river on this side of the river, but we didn't own this piece. So this is our connector piece. This newest bit that we just bought is our connector between the deep woods where you guys were to connect it to the river. And so now it's all contiguous except for this road.
Yeah, right. So that part where the creek was, you own that too. The preserve owns that where it crosses the river. No. Okay, so that's the next part.
That's the next part. That's part of Gordon's are yeah. But so like this woods here, we just bought was with this field.
Now, will this be planted soon?
It will be. September is when this restoration will start, right here.
Now, is it all done by hand,
Nope.
or do you have equipment?
Nope. So the first step is earth moving equipment will come in and re-contour the land and break the field tiles, the drainage tiles, and then after that's all done, then the seeding will happen, and it depends. Sometimes the seeding is just by hand, but it's usually either they use a seed drill, or if there's a lot of really freshly tilled earth sitting there, they'll just broadcast it like out of like what I've used before is like a salt spreader on the back of a truck and just drive it through the field and put the seed in the salt spreader.
And what does that plant? What do you plant initially when you do something like that?
We initially plant like what we call a pollinator meadow in the drier areas. So it's a mix of native grasses and wildflowers. We always put a carrier in there like rye that will grow fast to try to keep the soil in place before all the natives come because they grow slow. In the areas that are already wet, we'll plant what we would call like a floodplain mix. So it's going to have those same things, wildflowers and native grasses, but also some stuff that likes it wet. So some sedges and rushes and like those wet things like lobelia that like it wet. And so that's what we'll initially see getting it drier wet. And then after that, we'll plant trees and bushes.
This is definitely a multi-year project.
Yep.
So on
It's
that
already
up
been like
there,
a year and a half of planning already too.
so what we saw up there is not native. Probably not. Okay.
It's not native, and the township's really because it's mixed together. It's bad ag.
Sounds good.
It's probably not from the former farm.
So after the roundup and all that disappears, those come in aggressively.
Yep.
Okay.
And then, but this here, this is what we own. So the river's just on the other side of the trees. So this was our recent restoration. So this is how we're connecting the deep woods down to the river. But this looked like that the first year. It was all mare's tail. The second year it was like a quarter mare's tail, and now there's no mare's tail anymore. It's all native stuff. Well, mostly just by doing the earthwork. So like, we're gonna mow. Monday we're mowing it. I wish I had gotten mowed before this starts. But so we're mowing down Monday, and then they're gonna be coming in September and kind of tilling to get the earth moving. So, and then after we seed it, the mare's tail's gonna come up, and we'll just have to mow it because the natives that we plant, they're okay with getting mowed. The mare's tail, it's actually pretty wimpy as far as a plant goes. Its seeds are horrible, and its seeds will stick around, but we can just, if we mow it before it goes to seed and then mow it again, that's how we take care of the mare's tail. But only because after you've done a seeding, because then that will get rid of the mare's tail long enough for the natives to come in, and then next year the natives will be growing instead of the mare's tail. They'll crowd it out. Yep.
What cemetery is this? Hostetler? Okay. Here, can you hold this? Make sure it didn't fall. Okay, we're back. We're back to where we were. Gotcha.
Made a big circle. Good. Around the woods and putting ours in.
Well, thank you. That was very educational.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
That was the walk.
Nice, very nice.
Good. Other corner.
Which mailbox? Oh. The trees then, are they planted by hand or?
Usually, yes.
Okay.
I think most of them out here are planted by hand. Actually, the ones on the other side of the bridge, those are planted with a tree planter.
Do you have your own tree nursery?
We don't.
Yeah,
Nope. So we
okay.
we mostly buy from Woody Warehouse in Indiana, just because they have the most stock of what we want.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Have a great day. That was fun.
That was really fun. I like doing that kind of stuff. It's more fun than cleaning the house.
Yeah, which you've now saved for another day.
Exactly. I'll get a few things done. Now that's great. I mean, who knew that we had like ravines and little hills and dips in Paulding County?